Hello, my name is Ariel Drury, and this is my screencast for the presentation of Information Hunters, the book by Kathy Pice that I chose for this presentation assignment. I chose this book because I'm a really big fan of World War II history, and I thought that the title, which is Information Hunters, when librarians, soldiers, and spies banded together in World War II Europe, made it sound like a really interesting story. So, Archibald MacLeish was the Librarian of Congress in 1939. He was appointed by President Roosevelt, and he collaborated with William Donovan, who was the coordinator of information and went on to create the Office of Strategic Services, which was the precursor to the CIA. And they collaborated in a plan to use librarians and scholars to gather foreign intelligence in enemy countries to send back to the U.S. during World War II. So, in the wake of the attack on Pearl Harbor, librarians and scholars, many of them, signed up for government service. They wanted to serve their country, they wanted to defend democracy and fight fascism, and they saw libraries as symbols of freedom, especially as the Nazis were burning books and destroying cultural heritage all over Europe as they invaded all these different countries. So the Library of Congress and the Interdepartmental Committee for the Acquisition of Foreign Publications, or the IDC, was the agency that was set up to send these librarians and scholars over to Europe to act as foreign agents and spies. They gathered foreign newspapers, foreign intelligence. They transferred it to microfilm, and they sent it back to the U.S. And this was the beginning of information science. These tools were used as the beginning of this field, really, because back in America, the IDC had to increase its staff in order to extract useful information from all of this intelligence that was being acquired and sent back. So, as these information hunters served in the war, they were also serving in the military through a special unit called T-Forces. And this unit was gathered to collect documents of war in liberated countries as after the Allies invaded Europe. And so in each country they would collect piles of documents and use them to gather more intelligence and also to send a lot of information back to the U.S. in order to build the Library of Congress itself and also to build American research libraries. That was part of the agreement that the Library of Congress had created. As all of these documents were collected, the military eventually occupied Germany after Germany surrendered. And when they were occupying Germany, they issued what was a very controversial order. It was called Order Number 4. And it ordered the seizure and destruction of Nazi books, materials, propaganda from libraries, booksellers, in schools, anywhere that they were being used. This made people furious back at home in the American press. People saw it as potentially the equivalent of Nazi book burning, which had made people so angry in the outbreak of World War II. So eventually the military said that they were going to save one copy of everything for historical purposes. But most of that material was destroyed as it was seized. As the war went on, and in the post-war era, the military confronted another problem of the mass of Jewish materials and books that had been stolen by the Nazis, because they were eventually found hidden all over Germany. They found them in caves, mines, all kinds of shelters and warehouses and rural areas, and they had to figure out what to do with them. So they created a depot to store the books and process them to figure out how to return them if it was possible. But a lot of them were in languages that not everyone read. They didn't know who they should return it to. A group called Jewish Cultural Reconstruction wanted most of the Jewish material sent to Jewish organizations and religious organizations, but at the time, the only rights that were recognized were property rights that were recognized were countries or individual property rights. So the military didn't know exactly how to provide restitution for these stolen works and who to return them to. I thought this book was really interesting. It was an interesting story. It talked about a lot of different kinds of people and what they did on their mission as spies in Europe during the war. And I didn't know really anything about it because there had been other media and books written about the Monuments Men, which is an agency that, during the war, that the Allies created to go around and rescue artworks that had been stolen by the Nazis. But not much had been known about the books and written materials that had been taken. So I feel like this book really revealed that story. And that was really interesting to read. And the contemporary reviews at the time were very positive. It was reviewed in the Wall Street Journal in 2020. And it was highly praised, and it was also reviewed by a number of scholarly journals. There was one that was the Naval War College Review, and that critic called it a joy to read and said it should be taught in military schools. Another journal called RBM, a Journal of Rare Books, Manuscripts, and Cultural Heritage, reviewed it positively. And so did the Journal of American History. So even though the book only came out in 2019, and it might be a little early to state what its long-term impact will be, it was very enthusiastically received, and it's recommended to anyone with an interest in American history, military history, and rare books and special collections. So for discussion questions, I am asking about the military's decision to destroy Nazi literature and propaganda found in Germany at the end of the war. Can you understand why they did that? And do you think the destruction or the banning of books or materials of any kind is ever justified? Why or why not? And did the Army's policy of gathering materials in liberated countries qualify as looting in itself? Why or why not? Then the government was concerned about materials being used for propaganda purposes. What do you think has a greater impact in terms of influencing the population? Books and printed materials, or audiovisual content in terms of mass media? Why? All right, and that is it. Thank you for listening to my presentation.